thank everyone who really took the time to listen to the first episode. As I move forward, I actually was able to get in touch with a lot of good people who are going to be able to help me edit some of these episodes, so I'll be able to get them out faster. With that said, if you ever felt like you wanted to have a voice, I feel like the Anchor app does a great job of allowing you to start your podcast, and it's very easy to use. So what you could do is, if you have an iPhone, you can go over to the Apple Store, or if you have an Android phone, you can go to the Play Store and download the Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM from your computer to get started.
Hey, welcome back, guys, to a new season of Melanin Dads, Season 2. The first season was 10 episodes, and I called that the summer season. Now we're going into the fall season, and normally around this time it's a little different for me because now I get to celebrate my daughter's birthday the end of September, but for the last couple years, normally this time has been very difficult for me, and it is still difficult. About 4-5 years ago, my mom was brutally murdered and left in her basement while someone or people went on and to live the rest of their lives. Meanwhile, multiple families, multiple individuals have been affected from this brutal crime. And I wasn't going to do an episode, but I feel like I have to. I never expected anything like this to happen to myself or my siblings, or my grandmom who passed last year. I never thought she would have to see one of her children leave before her. So it's something that hurts a lot. And I happened to attach the article to this podcast. So it's gonna play after my little introduction right here, and then we're gonna go into what I have to say. So excuse me if I do stutter or lost that word sometimes, because I am kind of free balling this right now, or so I really don't know what to say, but I figured I could at least kind of share my input on my journey from where I was when this first happened through the process of life, being married, because this happened my first year of marriage. So, yeah. And, all right, well.
Darby police are searching for a killer after a woman was found in the basement of her own home. But her body was not discovered until hours after the crime, and it's all because of some eagle-eyed neighbors. Action News reporter Vernon Odom has the latest on the investigation tonight. Vernon.
Good evening, Rick. Police here believe they're well on the way now to solving a grisly crime that took place here over the weekend. They do have a definite person of interest in mind. This is the murder scene, 510 Spruce Street in Darby, the home of 52-year-old Diana Hart. Police found her in the basement Sunday afternoon. She'd been stabbed to death. She had multiple stab and slash wounds to the head, neck, and chest. Police entered the house after Hart's special needs daughter was spotted roaming the neighborhood for hours, saying she was looking for her mother. Neighbors knew this was way out of the ordinary and called police.
We searched the home, downstairs in the basement. We find Mom buried under a pile of clothes.
Police believe she was killed sometime overnight Saturday into Sunday. Neighbors told me they were too fearful to speak on camera. Police have been hot on the case, and they do have a person of interest.
We have taken DNA samples from several people. One male that we know to be with her that night, right? We've served a search warrant on his house and a search warrant on his body for DNA. He's a person of interest, a very high interest.
Monica, those DNA test results are due back sometime next week. Police hope the man they are eyeing is a local with whom she was acquainted. That daughter is now staying with relatives. Live in Darby Borough, Delaware County, I'm Vernon Odom, Channel 6 Action News.
So, I was debating about even doing this episode because I really didn't know where to start and how to get my ideas or my thoughts together, but I'm going to try to give it a shot and just see how it goes. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of recall as far as what I remember that day and go from there. So I remember the last couple days prior to this very, very vividly, but I remember having a conversation with my mother about I was getting ready to move into my first apartment with my wife and the kids, and this was our first year being married. So all this happened our first year of marriage. And I remember my mom wanting to, telling me, she was proud and she was happy that I was married, and I was married to somebody she liked, and she wanted to, give me money to move. And my birthday was that following Thursday, so my birthday's on the 12th of October. So this was October the 7th that me and her had this conversation, and she was just saying how she knew she messed up as my mom, but she was happy that she had a relationship with, at the time it was just my two boys. And when I tell you, she would always have them. If I had to work, if I wanted to go out and enjoy life, she would just have them. And that's the one thing I feel like we were able to have this discussion. Maybe she knew what was going to happen to her, maybe she didn't, but she sounded like she was at peace at that time with, I guess, our relationship. And that's the last time I talked to her was Friday evening. She told me to come by there to get some money. And, I told her I loved her, and she told me she loved me. And that's the last time we talked. It was Friday. Saturday comes around, I'm working. And Sunday comes around. And my little sister called me, and I was at work when she called me, and she said they can't find mommy. I was like, can't find mommy? There's no way that my mom would leave, a mentally disabled girl on her own, even though my middle sister is an adult. My mom would never do that. So I knew instantly something happened to her. And I'm like hurrying. I'm telling people at my work I gotta go because they can't find my mom. And I remember getting in my, I was working downtown at the time, and I'm like calling my wife, I'm calling all these people, I'm calling my dad, I'm calling everybody I could think that probably would be able to calm me down, because I already knew the worst had happened to my mother, because I knew she was still dealing with her own demons, and that it wasn't a good sign. So then I hopped on the trolley. The whole time I'm riding on this trolley, I'm thinking somebody did something to her. There's no way she left her, and there's no way she left her. And I hopped in my car, and by the time I got halfway to Darby from downtown, my sister called me again crying, saying they won't let nobody in the house. They won't let nobody near the basement. And for us to go to the police station. And at that point, I knew that somebody killed my mom. So then I go to the police station. I'm driving. I'm telling my wife, like, somebody killed her. Like, somebody, there's no way that they're not letting nobody in the house. If she was injured, she would be in the ambulance. And I remember getting there, and that's when the officer told me and my little sister that she's dead. And at that moment, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to feel. I just felt like, my little sisters lost their mom. My kids lost their grandmother. And somebody's out here just living their best life. So, I try to calm down. I'm like hysterical, crying, because it's your mom, And he always had that thing of, that saying, oh, I feel, I'm sorry for your loss. And I always say that to people, but I really never knew how somebody felt by losing their mom, or losing their dad, or losing their sibling, or losing their child. Until you actually go through that, you feel that, I think it's not on purpose, but you really don't know how somebody feels. And it was a very hard pill to swallow, and it still is. It still is a reminder every single day that my mom is not here. And our kids feel it. My wife feels it. And they now I have a little girl who is not going to be able to know who her grandmom is. And I have a niece who's not going to know who her grandmom is. So, you kind of take those things in consideration and think about, when you argue with your mom, or you say bad things to them, all those thoughts come back about how you wish you could have done things differently, and you could have been a better person, and you could have been a better son, you could have been a better daughter, you could have been a better parent, brother, sister, friend, in that moment. And they start asking me questions about who she was with, and know anybody. Of course I don't know anything, because I've been out the house for a very long time. And they're telling me, it's the evidence this is open and shut. We have everything we need. It was such a bad job. And I'm like, all right, great. And then you start thinking about, after they tell you that, like, wow, you're gonna have to go to court. you're going to have to sit up there and watch this person try to plead for their life after they took somebody else's life. And I've never been in a court setting except for watching TV or hearing other people's stories. But that's never been a story for me. Shit, I never thought, after so much time that I would sit and watch TV with my mom, and she would watch Lifetime and ABC News and Dateline and ID Channel and Unsolved Mysteries, and she would just laugh and be like, I hope that's never me on there. And I would always say, like, why would you think something like that? And she would just be like, yeah, because I wouldn't want you guys to have to go through that. And I wouldn't want to have to die at somebody else's hands. And come to find out, that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what is happening. Because to this day, no one knows who did it. No one knows. Somebody does, but the people who should know don't know. And it's that's another pill, a hard pill to swallow. Not knowing who took the life of your parent. Now, kind of going back over the crime scene and what happened. After the cops left, I went down there, and that was very hard. Knowing that somebody, stabbed her multiple times and then left her in the basement of her home with clothes on top of them, and then did a shit job of, putting bleach and ammonia and trying to clean up a mess that they made. And the cops still don't have any clues, no Scooby snacks, nothing. Just, it's another black woman killed at the hands of another black person who knows is a black person. And going from that to trying to work and be a parent still and deal with baby mama drama and be a husband in a new marriage, because we're talking about March and this happening in October. And I can say, that to me was probably the first time that really changed the DNA of me and just filled me with so much anger and resentment and hatred. And that was just geared at everybody and anyone. And I was still working retail, and retail, they give you a couple days and they tell you come on back. And in the meantime, I still had to go and identify the body, which I drove from, let's just say Southwest Philly to Glen Mills. I think the coroner was in Glen Mills. And I remember, I don't know if I met my sister there or I picked her up. I don't remember. But I remember that ride. And it was a very long ride. And all I felt was butterflies and just going over the last conversation we had again. And just really remembering that was the last time I talked to her. And, I walked in there and, they sit you down at the table and, I don't remember if I saw the body on the table. I'm pretty sure I did. But I remember them giving me a folder and them going over the whole exam, and they having a picture of her in the corner, and I was like, that's not her. And they said that she was beat so bad that that's just how she looked now. And I said, so someone beat my mom, stabbed her, left her for dead in the basement, raped her, and then, left the door open for my sister, who is mentally disabled. Not mentally disabled because she was born that way, but mentally disabled because when she was a child, she went into a diabetic coma and lost oxygen to her brain. So my mom, the rest of her life, was taking care of her. And I was just so busy trying to run from my childhood that I left my sisters to fend for themselves. And it's one of those things where you'd be like, if I was one of those kids that just still live with their parents, this would have never happened, and I'm just like, that's not what she wanted from me. That's not what she wanted out of me. And so fast going back to the coroner exam, I thought I would never have to experience something like that ever in life. Going to go see somebody's body on a table. And I just remember holding my sister because she was just so dead after that. After just seeing my mom and the way she looked. And I was just so sad, because it's like this lady died alone. She had to weigh like 120 pounds, if that. And maybe one guy, maybe multiple guys did this. And the simple fact that somebody knows who did this, I think that's the worst part. Knowing that somebody knows exactly who did this to this woman, regardless if she owed whoever money for whatever addictions she had, that lady didn't deserve to die. And it's one of those things. I've never hated anybody in life. I've disliked a lot of people. I've gotten upset at trying to understand how people are thinking or doing certain things. But this right here, this will forever hold a special place in my heart for this person, because I'm remembered every single day on what they took, not just from me, but from my sisters and to my children, who even after that, after I had to tell them what happened to their grandmom, my one son had nightmares for a long time. And it's something that I don't think I would ever be able to get past. So after leaving the coroner's office, and I just remember just driving home, and it was complete silence. My wife went with me, but my mind was just empty. Was still trying to think about what happened and where I just was at. And I remember going to sleep and waking up and having to go to the funeral home. And the thing is, with the majority of, I don't know how many funerals I've been to, but I know majority of the funerals that happen are always go to the funeral home in West Philly, off of 52nd Street, 53rd, I think. I feel like that's like the funeral home for West Philly. Like I don't know, I think I've been to like 4 or 5 funerals there. My mom, my grandma, a couple other people. But I remember going to the funeral home, and my uncle was in charge of making sure everything was taken care of. My grandma paid for the entirety of the funeral. And that's the thing, like I've been blessed to have solid women in my life. You know, my grandma paid for the entire funeral. She even gave up her plot where she already knew where she was getting buried, which was on top of my grandfather, but she gave that spot to my mom. And you know, before she passed last year, before my grandma passed last year, she made sure she went and got her plot, so she would have a place so that her family wouldn't have to worry about, you know, finding or even paying for something like that. And I couldn't imagine if my grandma wasn't here how I would pay for that, or how my sisters would, you know, have to pay for that. I couldn't imagine, you know. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you have life insurance, make sure that you set your family up for success, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the expectancy is for us to die first before them. It's just human nature, you know, it's just what happens. But yeah, so we went to the funeral home, and we had to, you know, think about pictures to put in there of her, what we wanted to say. And it's funny how these type of things always bring out those family members. They bring out the family members who want to bicker about something. They got something to say, and knowing damn well they haven't been around helping these people through whatever they're going through, but they have a lot to say when they're not here anymore. It just baffles me how these events bring people together majority of the time in the bad way. And I remember going through all these things. It was a blur because I just wanted my mom back at the end of the day. And I remember that year was my I want to say 31st birthday. And no, I think it might have been my 30th birthday. 31st, I think. Anywho, and it, you know, I got, you know, my wife made sure she, you know, got me something, tried to take my mind off it. And it was something, you know, unfortunately, for some reason, God made me the way I am, and I cannot stop thinking about things and trying to understand why certain things happen. I think it gets me to a point where I really do get complacent, because my mind starts thinking about other things that just get me to a point where I can't do nothing. I get stuck. Maybe that's why I should have been like a detective or something where somebody has to use their brain to solve things. But I remember her funeral was October the 17th. which was 5 days after my birthday. And, you know, I remember I'm just praying that this day goes fast, and it just I can just forget about it. And I remember going there to the funeral home, and it was surprisingly my for the first time ever, you know, both of my son's moms were there. My ex-girlfriend was there, and my wife was there. But these are all people who had a relationship with my mom. So, but it was just funny having them all together. And I knew at that time when I saw that my mom was where she was at, laughing, because she would laugh at stuff like that. We would joke about ridiculous things that would happen in our lives that we just thought was ironic. And that was one of those ironic moments, knowing that all these women were in the same building, and for the first time it wasn't no drama. It wasn't somebody thinking about themselves for a change. It was just like, okay, you know, our child's father, mom died. You know, let's you know, put on our big boy pants. You know, whatever the case may be. But for me, it, for the few seconds, it was a glimmer of peace, solidarity, and I think, you know, it was one of those things where I'll always remember that, you know, she would always have a way of bringing people together. You know, anytime I would get into a fight, and, you know, before I had, you know, custody order, you know, I always get threatened to, you know, my son, you know, you're not going to see him. You know, my mom would always call and you know, calm it down. You know, so I knew she would, and she would laugh afterwards. So I knew wherever she was at, she was laughing about seeing everybody at her funeral. And the crazy part is I always thought while I was sitting there that maybe the person that did this to her was in there, because you always see that in movies. You always see the person showing up because they feel so guilty. And what made me think about that was that the way they left the scene, the way it was, just everything everywhere. They tried to clean up with bleach and stuff, and, you know, you see these things on Law and Order, and you're like, well, when on the show, when they try to do these things, they tell them is, you know, I guess whatever their crime investigate, you know, CSI. On the TV shows are always like top notch, you know, and I feel like the ones that are in our city and in our neighborhoods, you know, meant to protect us, are always like, you know, Dudley Do Right, and you know, just not, just very incompetent, you know, just like, you know, you see like Andy Griffin show where they just like, it's like a mockery, you know, and that's what I really took it as, a mockery. And I know if you guys listen to the news article, because I did put the only news channel that broadcasted this was ABC, and I had posted it right before this episode. I added on there, and you could hear the chief, you know, saying, yeah, it's a matter of time we got somebody. And I just was like, listening back on it, I'm just like, they just did that for show. They didn't have nobody, and they don't plan on having anybody. And you know, going back to the funeral, just seeing a lot of people that, one, I didn't know, because you know, I left her at an early age, and I ran, and I didn't come back. And you know, it's one of those things where you think that you know, what you could have done differently. You know, I always think, like, if I was one of those kids that just lived with their parents forever, this would have never happened. Or if I was more in tune with, you know, my life, opposed to like, you know, trying to appease women and, you know, try to do my own shit, that, you know, she'd probably still be here. You know, you always get into that stage of beating yourself up. But it's like, at the end of the day, you can't really control what people do with their lives. And my mom was never the type of person to tell me what she was going through. She would tell my little sister, but she knew that I was very judgmental, because I knew what my childhood was like, and I knew why my childhood was like that. And it wasn't more so judgmental, it was just so, it was more so angry at the fact that you know, I always thought she failed me as a mother. You know, if it was you know, her and my dad, you know, getting divorced when I was a baby, and her moving me to California for whatever reason, and I would never know why she did that. But, you know, I lost a lot of time, you know, with my dad, you know, for a long time. So me and him, you know, didn't have a really good relationship, because I didn't understand, or I didn't know this guy to even have a relationship with him. And you know, I just never asked questions, you know. And I think that for the most part, why my adult life considers me being very, very nonchalant and just don't care about a lot of things. And not saying that's good at all, because I see the effects it has on my life to this day. And you know, that's why I always try to tell teach my kids about holding themselves accountable now, so that when they get older, they're not falling into little pits and traps due to their childhood, you know, and due to not being taught the right lessons at an early age, so that they can have something to build on and understand. You know, so after the funeral, you know, I even stood up, and I talked, and I don't know how well I got, because a lot of it was but I tried to tell a story. I tried to, you know, I really wanted to thank her because at the end of the day, I feel like she knew what was going to happen to her, because I feel like she set the motions for a lot of things and a lot of healing before she left this earth, because I think she knew that this was going to catch up to her. And you know, so after the funeral, of course, we had to go to the cemetery, and that was very, very hard. That was very hard, watching her be put in the ground. It was very difficult. So, you know, it's so you know, after that, you know, you gotta, I guess, continue with life, right? I mean, you still gotta live. And the crazy part is you never really understand the little things that remind you. And you know, for the longest, I couldn't watch, you know, certain TV shows. If like my wife was watching ID channel, I couldn't watch those. When I hear people, being killed by their spouses, or being stabbed and stuff like that, is really hard to imagine. What those families are going through, because I know how it is to feel that. It's just like, how much money did she owe somebody to die? Like, how much is somebody worth you killing? So I'm sorry about that, y'all. It's a lot of pauses in here. It's just it's hard to talk, But it's every April during her birthday, because her birthday's end of April. It rains that day now. I'm surprised it's not raining today, October 9th. So I got a birthday coming up on Monday. I have another episode I'm posting for my birthday, so that'll be out too. And I really appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to all my episodes. This will be 11th one, and it was very tough. One, gathering people, because everybody got schedules. COVID's going on. And quite frankly, when I get with my family, I get very lazy. But the show must go on, as they say. So this is going to be a very huge but good season. And I always try to do the takeaways from episodes, but it's like, what do you take away from something like this? All I can say is the people that are very, very important to you, because everybody is going to come in your life just like seasons, but the people who show you through and through. Like, I have friends, my wife has friends that became my friends, and I have friends that became my wife's friends. But it's the energy, and it's the love that you see from people, because I have family that I feel or thought that should be there that haven't been there. Not even say per se for me, but for my children as well too. And to see my son hurt the way he hurt for so long, and maybe even now, going through those things, and that just shows you the type of relationship my mother wanted to have with him before she left. And for that, I'll be forever grateful that my kids were able to experience a grandparent before she left. So it's about 30 minutes before the airing of this episode, and I do apologize if you heard some background noises. Um, it was really hard for me to do this episode at home, because the way I am, once I start thinking about something, it really puts me into a state of thinking, and I can't be like that when I'm home with the family and everything like that. So I had to do this at work. Of course, I work in the school, and they are in the process of right now turning on the heat. So it's like, the pipes in the background are going off, and the air is on and stuff like that. So if you hear, I try to put music on to kind of soften the blow. I didn't have time to edit this video because every day I would try to work on it. I had to stop. So I probably apologize about 30 million times throughout this episode, but I think it would be a disservice to my peeps if I didn't explain myself. This wasn't a rush project. It was something that I've been feeling like I had to do since episode 1. I just had to find the right time. So maybe this year, this will be my dedication to her, would be this episode. And, it's very important to, again, going back to, generational curses. I had a lot of them. My siblings had a lot of them. And finding out now that my mom had a lot of them that she went through with her parents and her siblings. And, it's very important that you don't put those on your children, as hard as it is, because I find myself falling into a state where I want to argue with my wife in front of the kids, or, start getting loud, or even talk to them a certain way. And I have to remember that I don't want them to have to grow up and do the same work that I had to do as a kid to get somewhat normal. And it's even after my grandma's funeral, and knowing that I had to go to that same graveyard, and go see her, and I know I have to go back there, and talk to her and my grandma, because they're both there now, next to each other. And I remember the last thing that my grandma said when she was in the hospital, and she's like, Julian, I'm done. I put up the best fight that I could for the longest, and she was pushing 90, so I knew that she did her job. And the last thing she said to me was that this will probably be the last time we're going to talk. And I've already seen my husband, and I've seen my daughter. And they told me to come home. And, it's time. It's time. And that, that my daughter said she missed me. And that's the last time me and her talked. And, this, besides those two people, I really didn't fuck with anybody else on that side of the family. Especially when I got older, and, people stopped coming over to my grandma's for holiday dinners like we used to. And maybe that'll be a tradition I start when I get older and my kids have kids. And it's like, let's come over and have Thanksgiving and Easter together. And, not more so about the holiday, but just for the gathering part. And families don't do that anymore. I haven't for a long time. So I'm going to end the episode right here. And, next episode will be on my birthday. I have a very, I always say very special guest. Everybody's special that comes on. this episode or any episode, or I always appreciate everyone's transparency when it comes to their mental health. And please, 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 if you know anybody that's struggling with any type of addiction, anything. Now, I am a strong advocate for medical marijuana. So if you know that you are depressed, if you're suffering anxiety, you know, regular medicine is not working for you, medical marijuana is a great tool. And I advise anybody who is in need of that. It's very easy to get now. Now, the only thing about that is you can't get your license to carry. So it's one or the other. But, please go out and seek some help, because it's the little things like mental health that will separate you from someone else and stop you from, accomplishing your dreams and aspirations because of how you feel, and not getting the relief from those feelings I feel like it's the biggest weight of the world. And if your kids are suffering, if you know your kids are suffering, please get them some help. And I know when my son was going through it, and I told his mom, I said, we got to go and get him some, have him seek a therapist. And she said, my son don't need that. And it's the little things like that we have to make sure that we're not falling into the stigmas, because we hear that we're not supposed to do those things, or it's weird, or, oh, why are you crazy, or something like that. Don't allow somebody else to stop you from getting the help that you need. With that said, I love everybody. And, if I had an opportunity to talk to my mom one last time, it would probably I would probably have told her, that I love her. I did get the chance to tell her I forgave her for everything. We did talk about that. And I know she's wherever she's at right now. She sees the family I have now. She is able to be a part of their lives still and watch over them. And I wish I could just tell her sorry that this happened to her, because at the end of the day, she didn't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. The 400 people that have been killed in my city don't deserve that. Regardless of whatever the reason why was, nobody deserves to lose their life, because it's not just their life that is getting lost. It's the people. It's the ripple effect. If you ever watched the movie Crash, it's just like that. The ripple effect, the time effect that happens to everybody. Just like the force of a car accident, or the force of anything. It has the effect on everybody. So when I see people killing people, it's just sad, because these are the same people that are crying because their loved ones are being killed. So if you know how that feels, why are you murdering other people? But the sad part of reality is that we'll go out here and kill our own people for money, for drugs, for sex, for jealousy, for whatever reason. We'll kill our own people. It's easier for you to kill somebody that looks like you. But we not out here fucking with the white people, though. We still shucking and jiving for them. So when they talk about black on black crime, Yeah, it's a thing. And I'll never take that away from what is going on in the world as far as systemic racism, police brutality. So, remember those things. And please encourage someone to go get mental help. If you know somebody is battling their demons. If I even knew this was a thing when I was younger, I would have went and got my mom the help she deserved. I would have went and got my sisters the help they deserved. I would have went and got myself help at a younger age because I had the tools to understand why I felt the way I felt or why I moved in relationships so fast. I would have had the tools to understand that. But that's what separates our community from other communities. Because from the dawn of time, we've always had a crab in a barrel mentality. That's why when I have people on here, I praise them. I show them love because I have no hate, no envy. I don't spite people. So please, please, please stop. And the last thing I have to say, if you know anything about what happened to this woman, if anybody knows what happened to this woman, please reach out to me because my mom deserves the justice that she's never gotten. Take care of yourself.